Speaking of thebomb.com or just generally dope people, our keynote speaker is no stranger to anyone because she is as dope as they get. Kalilah Wright is the founder and CEO of Mess in a Bottle, a t-shirt company that dons nothing but positive messages. This expressive brand allows individuals to be outspoken and have a voice. By wearing these messages, they are actually heard. Kalilah and her company have received critical acclaim, being worn by the likes of Serena Williams and Lena Waithe, and most recently, this dope Black woman can be found in Target's Black Beyond Measure campaign, and it's available in hundreds of Target stores nationwide. Kalilah has a powerful story. Kalilah has changed Baltimore. Let's put our hands together for the Jamaican born, New York bred, but Baltimore rebel, Kalilah.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Can everyone hear me okay? All right, great. That introduction, can I have you as my, hype woman? Because I need to be hearing that introduction just as I wake up in the morning. I need to record that and have that by my bedside as an intro. So thank you guys so much. Again, my name is Kalilah Wright, and I am the owner of Mess in a Bottle. So I am downtown Baltimore right now in our studio space. So if you hear all of the exciting noise outside, it's because we are repping the city, and I'm so excited to be speaking with you guys today. So again, my name is Kalilah Wright, and I am the owner of Mess in a Bottle. So Mess in a Bottle is a t-shirt company that puts messages on t-shirts, and they come packaged in a reusable bottle. I think that just now Sarah's artwork, it really just brought me back to my childhood. It gave me that serene, calm, reminder of why art is life and why art is important. I was born in Jamaica, West Indies, and I was raised in Brooklyn, New York. I migrated to New York at the age of 4. And at 4 years old, I was just a child that was very talkative, very into everything, and still just really trying to figure out my transition between being and coming from Jamaica into the United States. And so as I started to progress, I can remember the first time that I picked up a pencil. And that happened in my second grade class. And I had no idea that I could draw. I always just thought I was really great at reading. I loved math, but I had no idea that I was an artist or, that I could actually draw something. So my second grade teacher gave us the task of creating and drawing a skeleton or like a fish and drawing the bones and the details. And she taught us about shading. And I just remember that my mind went to a different place. It was my place of calm. It was my place to relax. And Sarah just now brought me back to that moment where I first discovered art, where I first discovered that I had a passion and a love for something that I actually could do really well. And so as I progressed and, went on to school, I decided to attend Art and Design High School in New York City. So Art and Design High School was a place that you could really explore your art. So just like LTYC, it was a place that really cultivated your art, and for you to be able to draw and figure out what direction you want to go in the art. Was I an interior designer? Was I an architect? Was I a fashion designer? Was I a fine art major? So I quickly realized that I was not pastels and art, and painting. Those were, I loved doing them, but I didn't think that that was my specialty. So I really, really love fashion, but I'm here to tell you guys something funny. I did not pursue a fashion career. That wasn't what I decided to go into. I decided to venture into architecture. So while I was at Art and Design High School, one of my teachers there, Miss Donna Lewis, she said, why don't you try to do architecture? I had no idea what architecture was. I had no idea how to, create and design buildings. But I thought that it was really cool for women to be wearing hard hats, to be wearing, to have measuring tapes. And I always told myself, if I can be a architect, I could go back to fashion design. But if I did fashion design, it would be a little bit more difficult for me to become an architect. The statistics are that there are 0.02% African-American women who become licensed architects in the United States. I wanted to be a part of that 0.02%. So I went to college for architecture. I went to Penn State University. And while I was at Penn State, I had a really difficult time with architecture because I wasn't great at math. I struggled with engineering. And guess what happened? I received an F. I was failing out of something that I loved so much. And I had a difficult time with that. Something that, I poured my life into, I was now realizing that I may not be able to become an architect. So I ended up graduating from Penn State University with a bachelor's of arts. So I decided while I was at Penn State to sort of explore art again and not just solely focus on architecture. Once I graduated from Penn State University, I went on to Morgan State University, and that's what landed me here in Baltimore, Maryland. And so at Morgan, I had a great professor by the name of Professor Chan. And Professor Chan really cultivated and helped me realize I was a designer. I wasn't just an architect. I wasn't just a, fashion designer. I'm a creative and a designer who loves creativity and art. And if you don't realize that early on, you may be pigeonholed into a box into thinking you have to be a certain thing that you may not be. So I was told, especially within architecture, that I didn't look like an architect, I didn't sound like an architect, and I couldn't do architecture. And that was very discouraging as I knew that I really loved and appreciated the arts. So I then decided, I interned, I worked for different architecture firms and lighting design firms to really help me to grasp the concept and the true art form of architecture. And I landed my dream job as an architect at Under Armour. So I told myself then, I was like, this is it. I'm an architect. I'm going to study for my exams and I am going to start my career path of beginning to be an architect. And I would study really hard, try really hard to fit into this mold, but I still felt like there was something missing. In 2016, something happened in Baltimore, Maryland. Freddie Gray, an African-American male, died while he was in police custody. And this really created a lot of turmoil in my neighborhood, race, between different people within the community. People were at an uproar, as they should have been, about what happened to Freddie Gray. And at the time, while I was sitting at my desk, sort of working as a designer and an architect at Under Armour and designing their stores, I felt in that moment that I had a bigger purpose and that I was not fulfilling it. So within that time, I started taking a pencil and sketching and drawing again. I went back to what I knew that I could do when I was only in second grade. I went back to my original form of art and I started sketching, designing, and just figuring out how could I put the pieces together between architecture and fashion. And I decided that I was going to start this company, Mess in a Bottle. I started to create and sketch out different messages on these t-shirts. And then I even drew my glass bottle and I called it a message in a bottle. And I was very excited to know that I would now be diving into entrepreneurship, but I had no idea how difficult that road would be. So quickly after, graduating from Morgan State, working at Under Armour, I then decided in 2016 to launch Mess in a Bottle. And upon launching the company, I had a vision of creating a message vending machine as well. So again, all of my ideas, I would sketch out. I started to draw the logo, draw the images. So my design career and background in architecture really has enabled me to now become the fashion designer that I would want to be. So even to the point of, sketching out how our jackets, all of our images, these are things that I do just to really convey my idea. So what you saw Sarah doing, having an idea in her mind and then being able to put it out on paper, architecture and art has supported and allowed me to be able to be expressive within my art. I then quickly realized that people, not only Black women, but people around the world, no matter the age, their race, their nationality, they connected and my messages resonated with them. So as you guys can see behind me, one of my favorite messages, a Black woman created this. That is one of our signature messages. And it means several different things. It means that I'm a Black woman that created this message, this t-shirt. My son connects to the message as well, that a Black woman created this. And these are all things that now when I put messages on our shirt, people are very inspired to wear our message. We have now been fortunate to be in over 1,400 Target stores in their Black History Month Beyond Measure campaign. And I am excited, not only just for myself as a Black woman, but also because this is Baltimore's message. Baltimore has been a really, integral part of my story because Baltimore is where I have founded my business, created my messages, and my messages are about love, life, career, current events, and things that are happening around me. So I was able to now create all of these amazing things in Baltimore. And this is also where our flagship location is. It's in Howard Street, right downtown. And I am very inspired to have, a lot of people come in and have the community involved with our messages as well. It's been a really great experience to know that our messages resonate and it actually connects with other people. But what is even more gratifying is the fact that I used art. I used my creativity not to stop me. When I received that F at Penn State, I was very discouraged. I had no idea if I would ever become an architect. But now as my career develops, I do know now that I can become anything and everything that I want to be because I have art. I have art and I have creativity. And that is something that no one can ever take from me. Thank you guys so much for having me. I am so honored. And I just know that the leaders of tomorrow, you guys should be inspired and know that your path, your journey, it is up to you. Do not ever put down the pencil. Always remind yourself that you have art, you have creativity, and art is definitely life. Thank you.
Let me see, this is funny. My apologies. Taking this mask off and on is just the funniest thing to look at. So connecting as a community is even more important than ever before. LTYC aims to build that sense of community in everything it does. Community in the classroom, community in the libraries, community in the rec centers, community in the parks, community everywhere. Anywhere that LTYC is, they're touching. There is a